giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Good morning. Good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live. We're live on YouTube. We're streaming live on Facebook. And, of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! Day one, training camp in the books. A whole lot to get to. I am fired up today. So for that, we're going to bring in my guy, Patrick No C Walker of DallasCowboys.com to recap day one of training camp. So much to get to in the scientific method. We will definitely do that. But also, something caught my eye yesterday. Man, it made me go into the rabbit hole. So we've got some film room work today. We're going to jump into the film room. It'll be exciting. And surrounding all of that, Cowboys Nation, of course, you guys can call in and we can recap day one of training camp with y'all. 351-999-3787 is the call-in line for my Bomb Squad.
Bomb Squad!
I know there's a lot on y'all mind about what happened yesterday. Funny thing is, Pat had this tweet that he wrote way back in like May or something like that, where, and I'm paraphrasing here, is like, hey, man, I think it's kind of funny that everybody, wants all of these tweets or these updates on what's happening in football because they miss it. And then as soon as you get that, you got people that say, well, this doesn't matter. Or wait till we get to the regular season. That's all that counts. No. Real diehard fans live and die and love the little things that happen with their team. And this is where championship teams are built, man. It's the offseason. It starts here in training camp. So we're going to be covering training camp from the very first practice all the way to the end, whether I'm there or not, which I'll get into that a little bit later. But regardless, the beautiful thing about, doing good work, you eventually develop good relationships with people. You develop a respect with people that will be down there, boots on the ground. So obviously we have Pat, right? Pat will be here today. Next week, we'll have Brian on, I believe. We'll have Kyle Yeomans. We'll have a lot of people that are down there, boots on the ground, talking about what they're seeing at training camp. So if you're into that, you're in the right place, Cowboys Nation. All right. So let's get right into our roundup, which is kind of some not so good news. And coming out of that, we should be talking to Pat at the top of the hour, kind of getting more information on what he saw down there. And some of the things that may have not quite been on the Twitter or on YouTube or whatever. And that's the beauty about being down there, right? You get a chance to see some of those small little things that rub off and can end up being a big deal later on in the season. So let's jump straight into it.
It's time! It's time! It's time!
It's time. It's time.
It is time for.
It's time for the morning roundup.
Let me talk
Round them
to
up,
you.
boys.
Look, I know this isn't great news here in the roundup, but I'm hyped. I'm hyped for training camp, man. So yesterday, I said this on Vach's show, and this is my fault. When training camp comes around, we're talking about all the good things that can come out of training camp. We don't really mentally prepare ourselves for the inevitable, and the inevitable is injuries are going to happen. And that's what happened yesterday. There was a couple non-contact injuries, and when you hear non-contact, you get a little worried. So first up on the docket, Donovan Wilson went to the trainer's tent to get checked out after not knowing what was going on with his lower leg, came out of the tent and was carted off the field. So when you're carted off the field, for me, Cowboys Nation, that is a super red flag. I get really nervous. I get really worried. And I was a bit scared. You know, this whole thing went down on Twitter. You don't really get the information right away. You're just waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. Come to find out, silver lining, was not an ACL injury, was not an Achilles injury, was not a broken bone or anything like that, but it was a calf strain. So, bad news, Donovan Wilson will be out likely for the remainder of training camp. 4 to 6 weeks is what they're talking about. Good news, it sounds like he'll be ready for week 1 against the New York Giants. So, got to take the good with the bad. Bad news, he won't play for training camp anymore, which, look, man, Dono was established. You do need to practice, but if Donovan Wilson is not going to be at practice, I'll live with it. But if Donovan Wilson wasn't going to be available for the season, I could not. So dodged a bit of a bullet there, a little bit of a graze. Didn't go all the way through and didn't kill us. Out 4 to 6 weeks for Dono. We'll keep an eye on that. And of course, we'll talk more about it with Pat to see if maybe he's heard anything further on Dono, and not just Donovan Wilson, but Israel McCormick. He suffered, I hate to call it a hamstring injury. What happened, according to those down there, is that he felt something strange, not right. And he said, well, let me pull myself before I make this worse. And came out, it was a hamstring situation, and he did not leave the practice field completely. He left and came back and just was on the sideline watching. According to Michael Gelkin, this is his tweet. He says, quote, the MRI for Cowboy safety Israel McCormick won't occur until morning today, and there is actually a chance it will be deemed unnecessary based on how the muscle responds. A person familiar with the situation said, good sign for a DB who played critical downs at nickel last postseason, end quote. Again, another bullet dodge. This one probably completely from the first day of training camp. Mentally, next year, I'll make sure I prepare myself for these things to happen, because they will. You just want to make sure you get out of here unscathed to the point where nobody's missing the entire season or most of the season, like we saw with, old number 77, which, hey, he made it through. If 77 can make it through, every day he makes it through, this is going to be my reaction. Think I'm playing. So Dono out 4 to 6 weeks. Israel McCormick dealing with a bit of a hamstring injury. Cowboys Nation, before we talk to Pat Walker about this, and maybe we'll get some more information on him or anyone else that may have got nicked up down there. Are you worried? Are you panicking? Because one thing about training camp, another thing I did not prepare myself for, which we need to do that moving forward. Again, Twitter is not real, by the way. That is a very small percentage of real life people. However, as a sports personality, you usually are on there a lot, right? But boy, can we relax? Whether it's something that was amazing or whether it was something that was terrible, day one, relax. You should be excited that football is back and these things are going to happen, whether it be injuries, whether it be good plays or bad plays. Let me say it like Aaron Rodgers would say. RELAX. Relax. Aaron Rodgers put that R&B on it. He's like, relax. For real, no, seriously. It's day one. We don't have to go into panic. I saw somebody yesterday, rest in peace, Donovan Wilson. Whoa. Why are we got to put rest in peace? What are we doing here? Got hurt. He'll be back. Relax. Israel McCormick tightened up. He'll be back. Relax. Now, if somebody goes out for the season, then all hell can break loose. I'm right there with you. Why is it now? I don't mean to do a hard turn here, but let me talk to Cowboys Nation real quick, because I saw this yesterday from the same person, Mr. Hard Hitter here. Is my audio fine to most of y'all, or is it just you, Mr. Hard Hitter? Because what I don't want to do is turn myself on blast for you, and then everyone else is listening to me talk like this. So if my audio is good for Cowboys Nation? Can I get a thumbs up? If it's bad for you, maybe you might want to turn up your audio a little bit. Put me on a speaker, put me on the TV, put me on your computer, and see if that works out. But I'm looking at my gears here, and I'm spiking in that red a little bit here and there. So I think I'm good. All right, I'm good. Appreciate y'all. All right, hard hitter, you might just want to turn up the audio a bit. That's all. So let me go back up here and see if anybody's panicking. No panic here, says Solid Duck. Jameson says he's not panicking. You're right. It's not Twitter anymore. It's X. Dez is kind of fighting him too. Lee says, I'm just worried about football shape. That is fair. That is fair, Lee, right? Like if you do miss all of training camp, you're not out there. Definitely when the pads come on and you're running these games and these scrimmages, you're not getting into the football shape. So that is a great point, Lee, that I haven't brought up or I haven't seen too many brought up, because I'm looking at it the optimistic way, right? Hey, he did not get injured. I'm sorry, he did not get injured for the season. However, you do want to get into that ramp up stage to where once the season starts or you come back, you're not out of shape. And I don't want to be this guy because I'm a huge Donovan Wilson fan, one of my favorite players on this team. And this had nothing to do with, him hitting anyone, but the style that he plays, the kamikaze style that he plays, where he's running around, sacrificing his body, it can tend to lead to injuries. It can tend to lead to him getting nicked up. And what happened in year two, his first year of starting in 2021, got nicked up game one, missed a whole lot of time. And Jaron Curse was birthed here in Dallas. And fortunately for us, he became a staple of this defense. But Jaron is kind of been a guy that's on and off, been a nicked up guy. I don't want to call him a hurt guy because he go out there, he plays and he plays hard. And that's likely why he gets hurt, because he plays the way he plays. But it is something to worry about there, Lee, is the football shape. That's a very fair observation. Very, very fair. C. Nick says, no need to worry. It's part of the game. Swain, no panic. Professor O is not worried. So most of y'all are pretty cool. Pretty cool on this. There you go, CJ, or CG. He says, I think it leaves more reps for the youngins. Hashtag silver lining. I want to get a little bit more in here prior to getting Pat, who will be in a couple of minutes. So it was Aisha. Shouts out to Aisha. I talked to her yesterday. We're gonna have her on the show as well. She had asked the question because nobody really said anything. Hey, who filled in for him when he went out? And the answer immediately almost was Marquise Bell. So Marquise Bell got the next man up reps for a Donovan Wilson. So how did we get a chance to see J-Ron? An injury happened. How did we get a chance to see Deron Bland? An injury happened. Dak Prescott, an injury happened, et cetera, et cetera. So this just may be a chance for one of these young guys to step up. So we said something very similar with Zach Martin. Zach Martin's not out with an injury, but he's out holding out. So now Josh Ball, Fournier, this is your opportunity to step up, even though you're never going to start when that guy comes back. But if we need you, if we need to count on you, we need to know we can. So it was Marquise Bell, next man up, former Rattler. Let me see if that is our guy before I open up these phone lines for everyone. Boom. Oh, not that one. That's not the one I want. Indeed, indeed. All right, Cowboys Nation, I'm going to get in this a little bit earlier because with training camp here, it's going to be extremely busy for my guy, Patrick No C Walker. So welcome in the one, the only No C for the scientific method.
No sucker can deal when I'm dropping science. I'm dropping science.
What's good, my good brother?
I'm dropping science. I'm dropping science.
Pat, we got you?
me?
Yes, sir. There we go. There he goes. What's good, fam?
Hey, man. So Steele, what do you want to talk about?
No, I would have much preferred, let me talk to you.
But I got to give Cody some love,
You're
especially
right.
since recently they took him. Raw was in the A, and
You're right. You're right.
Hometown. I had to represent for Cody one time.
You're right. He really is from the A, and it is a lot to talk about. So we can start from anywhere, man. But I just told the fans here and Cowboys Nation that I kind of wanted to get a quick little update on the injuries to Israel Mukuamu and Donovan Wilson, if anything else new came down the pipe.
Well, starting from the lesser going upward, Israel Mukuamu left practice yesterday to be evaluated. He did return to the sidelines, which is a great sign. He was in street clothes, so essentially looks like he was shut down initially out of precaution. But in doing some digging yesterday, it appears that he actually pulled himself from practice as a precaution. As a hyper precaution to make sure that nothing was going on. It looks like he felt some kind of hamstring tightness, no tweak or anything, just a bit tight back there. So he went and talked to the medical staff, and basically they said, hey, well, let's just not push it. So looks like he's fine. He's day-to-day is what I would label it. Officially, they haven't labeled it just yet, but gut tells me he's day-to-day. As far as Donovan Wilson, it sounds as if worst-case scenario has been dodged, has been avoided, which is fantastic news. I know reports are out there that it's a calf strain. That kind of jives with what I'm seeing on this end. He was walking around with a boot yesterday. So thankfully, it's not a knee issue. There was no knee brace or knee wrap associated with his injury. He does have on the walking boot, but anyone who pays attention to football and the Cowboys knows that they'll throw a walking boot on any type of foot or ankle injury before they get tests done as a precaution. But I spoke with Dono yesterday. He's not in bad spirits at all. He was actually standing there making a plate for himself. So if it was too concerning, obviously that wouldn't have been the case. He would have already been in the hospital getting some MRIs and those other tests done. So those were scheduled for last night. We're waiting today to see what head coach Mike McCarthy has to say about Donovan Wilson. But the tone surrounding the injury is definitely not worst-case scenario. So sounds like we dodged a bullet on Donovan.
Is there any other maybe side nicks or bruises that might have happened yesterday that hasn't quite been reported, but somebody went down, went back in that is worthy of even talking about, or just normal training camp day hurts?
No one that left practice. Those are the only two that left practice on yesterday. Now, obviously, when Mike McCarthy speaks this morning, if there's another one that cropped up, be it, last minute on the field after media left or in the conditioning room, whatever the case may be, we'll get that update from McCarthy here at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. But between now and then, the only thing that we have is Donovan and Israel Mukuamu.
All right, so not a bad day one coming out from an injury standpoint then. If you had to, though, sum up day one with the word, going to play a bit of a game here, word game. If you had to sum up day one with the word for the offense and one word for the defense, Pat, what would it be?
Ooh, spicy. Spicy. And of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't, and I know you've touched on it already, and if not, then you're definitely going to touch on it. Obviously, this was one day after Trayvon Diggs gets his big, 5-year extension worth upwards of $100 million. But that didn't change Diggs' demeanor at all. He was still getting some chatter going back and forth between him and Dak Prescott. So that was spicy in and of itself. And then the matchup between Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks that I was tweeting about on yesterday, it wasn't just once or twice that they were matched up against each other. I think Mike McCarthy really wanted to have those two lock horns for the duration, because I don't recall a rep where there were both first teams were on and Gilmore and Cooks were not going against each other. And, of course, for those that may not know, and if you don't know, that means you haven't been reading the .com, so shame on you. But Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore have a long-standing relationship from the 2017 stint together with the New England Patriots. They remained friends throughout this entire time, and now they're teammates again. So keep that in mind. But on the field, hey, it was getting competitive. You had Gilmore with a very nice PBU to start off the team reps. Cooks went out, tried to do a quick hook in, I should say, and Gilmore was right there glued to his hip, and that was a pass breakup. But Cooks, not being one to let that slide, 2 or 3 plays later, he gets the ball in open space, and he puts Gilmore in the blender. So I talked to Gilmore after practice about that matchup, and like I wrote in the Gilmore article yesterday on the .com that everyone should be reading, right? He said it was fun. He was like lining up against guys like that can only make both guys better, and he's absolutely right. So between the offense and the defense, it's all picking up. I mean, you can tell these guys have been champing at the bit to get on this field, and it showed yesterday.
We have Patrick No C Walker, DallasCowboys.com here. Scientific method. I'm a bit surprised that you said spicy on day one. Day one, you would think they would just ramp it up, kind of ease it in, but with so much talent on both sides of the ball, these boys are ready to come out the gates fire.
Absolutely, and the thing is the coaches, to a great degree, they are trying to ramp things up because obviously the first padded practice isn't until Monday, August 1st. So they're trying to ramp things up, but at the same time, they're kind of letting these guys play within reason. They're kind of letting these guys compete. So when you see Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore kind of going at it competitively on the field, and then when you see the chatter between Trevon Diggs and Dak Prescott, which is nothing that either of them are new to. They kind of go back and forth often in each practice. You can already just tell these guys have been waiting for this opportunity to get on the field. So the coaching staff has done a great job, effective yesterday. They've done a great job of kind of measuring it out and making sure these guys are not going too hard too soon, but also with letting the competitive juices flow as well. So great day one. The injuries notwithstanding, but again, sounds like we dodged a major bullet on the injury front.
So day one, individually, you brought up some names here. You're talking about Brandon Cooks, talking about Stephon Gilmore. I already know which name I think you're about to bring up next, but who individually stood out to you? It could be offense, defense, special teams, doesn't matter. Give me your guys that caught your eye and they're on the top of your mind right now from yesterday.
Eric Scott Jr., let me talk to him. Steele, on this very program, on more than one occasion, you have asked me post-draft, you said who was one of my sleepers, and I said Eric Scott Jr., right? I said he could be the steal of the draft. We got the Deuce Vaughn variable, obviously, but Eric Scott Jr., I talked to Dan Quinn after the draft, talked to Mike McCarthy after the draft, talked to, these coaches after the draft, and Will McClay specifically, Stephen Jones, everybody is singing this kid's praises. So I went back, I doubled back and looked harder at his film, and I started to see some of the flashes that intrigued them. Well, yesterday, flash, there it was again, right? So it was an in route, slant route from Simi Fehoko, and Fehoko created a tip drill. The pass was right there on the money by Dak Prescott. And, of course, this is a concern as far as Cowboys fans are concerned, and rightfully so. Tip drill interceptions have to be eliminated by the Cowboys if they want this offense to go. So, but I would rather it happen on day one of training camp and not in January against the 49ers or the Eagles or something like that. So go ahead and get them out the way. If you're going to have them, get them out the way now. So Simi Fehoko knows he has to catch that pass. But kudos to Eric Scott for being Johnny on the spot. He was right there for the tip drill. He brought it in to get the first interception of training camp. And even prior and after that, both before and after that, just his swagger, his demeanor. This kid has some dog in him. And off the field, he's eerily quiet. But on the field, he's a different person entirely, a different breed. I love his build. I love his character. Great day one for Eric Scott. If he continues to build on that, oh, man, dare I say they might have another Deron Bland there.
Hey, Pat, I literally, the tip of my tongue was about to say, could this happen in back-to-back years where you get a guy in the fifth round and he ends up possibly, and it's early and we're excited, but this happened with Deron. I was telling the fans this, Deron Bland was a guy I was like, hey, man, look, fifth round pick, let's see what happens, but he's got a lot in front of him. And then by the middle of camp, I'm like, hey, Deron Bland's looking like, the third best corner. Yeah. Now, it's going to be a bit different for Eric Scott to look like the third best corner, but if he can look like the fourth best corner, that's almost equivalent to what Deron did last year in camp.
Right, and let's qualify and quantify it appropriately. That was day one,
right.
And this is going to be a long camp and preseason, and I'm really anxious to see what he does in these three preseason games Eric Scott we're talking about. But I really think he has a fantastic shot at not only making the roster, which also means he's going to have to carve out a role on special teams as well, something that Mike McCarthy spoke on just in general as far as some of the newer guys coming in. So if he can carve out a role on special teams, that's going to add to his value. But if he keeps making plays like he did on yesterday, it's hard to not want to throw him into that Deron Bland conversation, because for those that are saying, oh, well, It's kind of early. That's fair, but also keep in mind at this time last year when I was reporting that DeRon Bland was taking over camp and everybody was like, oh, it's too early. Well, how'd that work out? So I say all of that to say let it play out, but keep an open mind that this kid does, in fact, have the skill set that he could be on that same trajectory as DeRon Bland. And another guy that you want to keep an eye on is Jalen Moreno-Cropper. So the touchdown he reeled in yesterday, very athletic. The route was crisp on that. Kudos to Cooper Rush for putting that on the money. That was a dot to the back end of the end zone. And kudos to the undrafted rookie for making that play with a defensive back draped all over him. So that's a name to watch as well. Those two guys from an offensive standpoint and a defensive standpoint kind of stole the day, more specifically than anyone else from the rookie standpoint.
You had a tweet yesterday, Pat, about my cousin, Terence Steele, man.
Yeah.
Terence, he kind of surprised a lot of people being available right now. And this was your tweet. It says, because this was somebody I hit you up about telling Sam Williams to go talk to D. Ware about some pass rush moves. And you said Sam Williams' execution of the move was flawless. The problem so was Terence Steele's. The takeaway here is Steele is back like he never left in the first place. So I guess you can say Steele got it.
Ooh, that's bars. That's bars. Now, unfortunately, this is practice. This is live. This is how it goes. I had the shot right before that snap. I had the shot. And right as they snapped the ball, one of the rookies, because, of course, we're on the sidelines, one of the rookies stepped in front of the frame and blocked the entire shot. And I know he did it by accident, but I was like, you're killing me, but do your job. Thanks for doing your job. But long story short, in that particular rep, Terence Steele, he was at RT1. I'm going to say that again. He was at RT1, ladies and gentlemen. He wasn't at left guard. He wasn't at right guard. He was at RT1 as Terence walks past me right now. So the rep goes, Sam Williams gets walled off by Terence Steele immediately. Sam goes to his second move, feigns outside, spins inside. Now, at the moment that he made that spin, I looked at Terence and said to myself, knee injury he's recovering from, Sam's going to win this rep. I was wrong because as quickly as I had that thought, Terence Steele kept his feet shuffled to the left, kept his hands engaged with Sam Williams, and that was basically the end of that rep because the ball was already going out of Dak Prescott's hands. It was just one example of 2 or 3 great reps I saw from Terence Steele yesterday as the team ramps him back up. Talked to Terence before practice, I want to say on Tuesday evening, after he was medically cleared, and I was like, hey, you were right. He was like, I told you I was ahead of schedule, and here's what really should please Cowboys fans. And this is a quote from Terence Steele. He said, it feels like I never tore anything in the first place, end quote. That is fantastic news.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, look, when you hear that he's ready to go and you see those videos and things like that, you get excited, but you have to wait till you get on the field. And the fact that he's pushing and pulling against these guys and he's feeling great like that has me fired up. Now, all this is great, but in day one, you got players that do well, you got players that don't. Who needs to have a bounce back day in day 2?
Well, we talked about it. It's going to have to be Semi Fehoko.
Yeah.
Fehoko he had a great training camp. Well, actually better than great last year, 2022. He was one of the stars of training camp. Injuries kind of derailed his season, but he knows coming into this training camp he has to deliver another strong one and then build on that in the preseason and then stay healthy so that he can build on it in the regular season, assuming he makes the roster, and he has a great shot at doing so. But yesterday, rough start. OTAs, I logged him with no drops. Minicamp, I logged him with no drops. So I guess he was due, and that drop came on the tip drill, created the tip drill that ended up being Eric Scott Jr.'s interception. So Fehoko acquitted himself better over the remainder of the day, made the catches that were thrown to him after that. But today I look for him to kind of have that chip on his shoulder and say, hey, you know what? Let me remind these guys that yesterday that was an accident. That doesn't happen frequently with me. So, yes, I'm expecting Semi Fehoko to have a bounce-back day.
I feel like he usually starts off slow. We heard this last year when I talked to Kyle, and then he kind of turned it up a bit. So he's going to have to because Moreno-Cropper, it's to me, he's the number 1 undrafted free agent wide receiver that has a chance to crack the roster if those guys slip any little bit. Is Jalen Moreno-Cropper. All right, I know you got to get going here in a second, bro, but what are you personally looking for on day 2?
On day 2, I'm looking to see what Deuce Vaughn and Hunter Lipke look like. I couldn't necessarily focus on them yesterday, all over the place, trying to get some of the bigger names like Stephon versus Cooks. Wanted to see, Dak and CD back in action. Wanted to see what Michael Gallup's springiness looks like. But now I'm going to start kind of focusing on some of these newer guys. We talked about Eric Scott. He made you focus on him yesterday. Moreno Cropper made me focus on him yesterday. Let's see who can draw that attention today. But even if not, I'm going to kind of key in on Hunter Lipke and Deuce Vaughn because the Cowboys are trying to sort out their running back room, and those two guys are going to play a large part in that getting sorted out.
All right, man. That is Patrick No-C Walker, DallasCowboys.com, dropping the pure science.
Yes, science.
Appreciate you, big bro.
Absolutely, bro. Hit you in a minute.
Yes, sir. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and turn this page.
When I'm dropping signs.
Appreciate Pat for joining us. Look, I understand you guys have some questions for him, but during training camp, these are going to have to be more concise. He has other obligations as well, so we have to keep it to a solid 15 minutes. And then he has to move forward. I believe he has some more radio hits he has to do. Then he has some .com stuff. Training camp is going to be tight. It's going to be really tight for him. So we're going to try to get in as much as we can. But there was a whole lot of science right there from our guy, Pat No-C Walker. All right, 351-999-3787 is the call-in line. If you guys want to call in our next part, the B block of our show, where we're going to open up the film room here in a quick second. But fantastic stuff by our guy, Pat. And again, I know I saw a lot of questions in there. I just we couldn't get to all of everything that happened in day one. But I'm glad and I purposely did this. I'm glad he touched on the things he did touch on. The guy that brought up Moreno Cropper. I'm glad he brought up Terence Steele, or we brought up Terence Steele. And I believe he said he wanted to take a look at Hunter Lipke and what do they call him? Smo, or something like that. Deuce Vaughn. So it's a whole lot. You only got 2 set of eyes. That's why it's kind of important to kind of piece everything together around it when you're down there. So we'll talk to him next week again. But prior to that, again, we'll have probably Kyle on. We'll have Brian on. Aisha will have other people that are either down there or have their ears to the ground down there, Cowboys Nation. All right, let's take a quick little second before we go into the second part of our show, because we're about to really turn this thing up a little bit. So go ahead, get your pens, your papers, get your drink. If you got to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom, do what you got to do. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about that interception, basically.
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live.
At some point, hoping to broadcast
In front of the millions.
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
We'll do it live.
Do it live. Got Vach in the chat? It's good, bro. Hey, we had a banger yesterday. That's how I know football season is around the corner, man. No, it's here. Forget around the corner. Football season is here. We had a banger of a show. Y'all can't miss shows. Can't do it. Won't do it. Not only do we have the return of football season, we got the return of the first word. For those who are familiar with this show, for the last 3 seasons, during the season or off season and regular season, we usually start off the show with the first word when Mike McCarthy talks, when he has a press conference or whatnot. If there's something worthy of it, it could be Mike, it can be another defensive coordinator, it can be a player, what have you. So Mike spoke and he said some things yesterday, and I want to kind of piece all these things together that'll eventually form one main point. But here's our very first word of the 2023 offseason, which centers around Mike McCarthy talking about concepts, the quarterback, wide receiver, route running relationship, all in one. Here's Mike.
At the end of the day, it's about throwing the football. It's about winning 2-minute drills and so forth. So the connection between the quarterback and the route running of the perimeter group is a major focus for us.
major focus for us. All right. He brought it up briefly. We're going to talk about it here for a quick second because it really was the biggest headline to come out of training camp. And that was the tipped interception from Dak Prescott to Simi that went into the hands of Eric Scott Jr. After I kind of LOL'd at it, and I said this, I believe, on Twitter, and the reason why I had to laugh at it is because the whole hoopla around interception this offseason has been the biggest talking point surrounding Dak Prescott, surrounding the receivers and the offense. And not good for Simi, by the way. Not a good day for Simi. Simi's got to bounce back, and that's why he was our day 2 bounce back candidate, because guys like Moreno Cropper are just waiting for you to mess up. You're just waiting for it so I can take advantage of that situation. But nonetheless, the interception happened and the whole world burned. The Twitter went crazy. Some people trolling, some people legitimately saying, Dak Prescott. By the way, y'all got to RELAX, man. Y'all got to relax, bro. Every little thing is not the end of the world. And I'm not even talking about Simi. There was a pass that Dak made where CeeDee Lamb made a great catch, and the whole world, Dak Prescott sucks. This is why, you can't have him. You got CeeDee Lamb making one-handed catches. Are these the type of fans you're going to be? I don't know how you're going to enjoy the season, man. Nonetheless, when you go look at the interception, let's jump into the film room real quick. When you go and look at the interception, a lot of people gravitated towards that. Not me, man. I gravitated, after I got over the interception, I gravitated towards the substance of said play. And that was about the slant, flat combination situation. I'm just going to show the interception real quick, and then we're going to kind of rewind this thing, and we'll go over it. By the way, anybody that's trying to troll you about Dak Prescott and this pick, Simi, well, Dak Prescott can't leave. Simi, you got to catch the ball. That's right on the money. But forget the pick for a quick second. Peep the slant flat combo we got going on right here with Jake Ferguson running into the flat, and then obviously Simi coming behind on the slant. That is a staple of the Mike McCarthy and really kind of the West Coast offense, and other coordinators have adopted variations of this and done different things from it. But the reason why I wanted to bring that up, and let me bring you back here for a quick second, and then we'll jump back into the film room, because we got a lot more to talk about from that particular play. But the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because it got me to go down a rabbit hole. It got me to think once again about some of the things that Schottenheimer and Mike McCarthy have been talking about, and that is family of plays, dribbling with a purpose, and then building off a said family of plays. So we got to go all the way back. We got to go back to Brian Schottenheimer speaking a few months ago about installs. You'll hear that a lot with Mike McCarthy. This is what Brian Schottenheimer had to say. He said, quote, "The way it's set up is pretty cool. The players hear it in phase 2 for the first time, and we're 12 concept teach days in. A concept teach day is where we take a family of plays and instill those, all of the different adjustments and things with not as many formations. And then we get to OTAs. We'll actually put together real installs with specific formations, with builds, and then we'll tweak those as we prepare for training camp." Again, you're hearing family, you're hearing the builds, you're hearing adjustments and different, variations of things. Mike McCarthy, ironically, unprompted, brought up the whole concept and family of plays and growing within said family of plays. And I thought it was pretty noteworthy to talk about it. And I said this before, Mike loves ball. Mike unprompted will talk X's and O's and ball with you. And he did that yesterday. Here's Mike McCarthy talking about those concepts and those family of plays.
You're trying to grow. Every concept has a history, and the scheme design, in my view, always fits into a family. It's important to keep growing those families and have variations of it. So
it's important to keep growing those families and having variations of it for many different reasons that we're going to get into that. That was always my gripe. Always my gripe with Kellen. It wasn't that Kellen didn't have great plays. They just never seemed like they was a family. It felt like a bunch of strangers just got into a room and you just picked out the best strangers and took a guess. And if it worked, you was like, okay, that was cool, and you disregarded it. thus no foundation, thus no identity. Well, what does that have to do with this? What does that have to do with slant flat combinations? Let's take a history trip here about the slant flat and why I think it's pretty cool. So what is the slant flat? What is the basic foundation of it? Pretty simple. You'll have, and you can do this out of multiple different formations, but right here it's a bit of a 2x2 if you count the back, a 2x3 or 3x2 depending on how you're looking at it. And it's literally what it says. You got a slant combination behind it, or you got a slant with a flat combination behind it on both sides here. This is a mirror route version of it. Now, it doesn't always have to be this way, but obviously that's part of football. You'll have some mirrors. Just don't do it all the damn time, please. Nonetheless, this is what it looks like from a standstill. Now, when you get to the actual play, this is what it can cause and create the havoc in the back, whether it be against man or against zone. And here it is against man, and you'll see at the bottom of your screen what it can do if you run it properly. And I'm talking about right here, y'all. Take a look at the Bills. I believe their cornerbacks running into each other. It can create that open space, easy button type of concepts for your quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is all world, but this is a basic concept, and he goes to the other side because that's probably Devontae Adams. But this is an easy concept to get a either first down or a sizable gain to get into a better down and distance situation. So that's the basics of the slant flat combination. Now, if you go to a different variation of it, okay, let's say you're beating these dudes upside the head with this, which I don't mean to do a sidebar here, but if you go back and look at the New England Patriots against the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl, where the infamous interception at the end, they were beating the Seattle Seahawks upside the head with slant flat combinations against their cover three. Nonetheless, if you're playing against a team that plays a lot of man and you're crushing them, well, this variation can be created off of it where you're faking it. So you've got Devontae Adams faking the slant, hitting the fade route, and you got Randall Cobb faking the flat and coming back in for a slant. And again, easy buttons, not complicated, touchdown. Wide open because it puts them in the blender. Nothing crazy about this. I don't need my wide receiver to say, hey, man, read the safety or read the linebacker. Sometimes you'll ask that, but for the most part, you don't want those guys to do that down in, down out. Easy touchdown. It's another variation of the slant flat. Here's another variation that you can create off of the family of that specific formation. And this was the Rams, I believe, in 2017. Robert Woods is here. So again, you got the slant route coming. Now, not a great route in my opinion by Robert Woods, but he fakes the flat and runs a wheel. He doesn't go there, but he could have. So let's take a look at what that could create as well. There's a slant. He's faking the flat, trying to get in the way, create that natural rub, and then you're going to get Robert Woods right up the field. Now, he didn't go to Robert Woods. The pressure was in his face if you guys want to take a look down here at the bottom. But that's what this combination can do. Okay, there's pressure coming. I don't have time to wait for the wheel route, so I'm going to go ahead and hit this slant. Let's say you do have it blocked up. You got kind of a walk-in touchdown here if you're able to get it there or at least make this guy miss on the back end. I've seen Kellen Moore do some will things, specifically, I think it was week 3 against the Giants, but he never really went back to any of it. So this is just another variation of the slant flat that you can build off of. Here's another one. This comes from a stack formation. Now, you're still kind of in a 3x2, but you got a bit of a stack formation, so you don't have the wide receiver outside the numbers. You got both of them either lined up inside the numbers or pretty close. Once again, fake the slant, going to hit the wheel, and he's going to fake the flat and come back in on the slant. Watch what it does to this safety. It puts him in the bind because now if I'm going to have a blitz in front of me here, that leaves the middle of the field open. So he has to take a guess. Do I bite down on this slant or do I sit back against this wheel route? Well, he chooses the wheel, opens up the middle of the field. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Nothing is crazy about this. It's a simple read. If he blitzes me here, the middle of this field is wide open. First down, big play. Final variation coming out of this family of plays. 3x1 or 2x3 if you're counting the running back here. Double slant with the wheel behind it. Let's take a look at how this plays out. Again, I love double slants with some action behind it because it's going to create a lot of chaos here. Now, this was good coverage because it didn't really mess up this cornerback, but you get the idea of what it can create when you run that. There's a double slant. You got the wheel coming behind it. The safety's not biting, but staying in the middle of the field, worrying about this and this. One-on-one downfield. Put it in any area. A lot of people would argue that might have been underthrown, but put it in any area and let your wide receiver come down with it. So, when you see this, a lot of people are going to be upset about the pick. I am. I want Simi to be better about it. We'll see what happens in day 2 and whatnot moving forward. But Cowboys Nation, the chances are Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, they're going to be running these variations of the slant flat, and you can build off of it. You can build off of it. So when we're talking about families and we're talking about foundation and identity, these are the things that I'm thinking about. What can you lean on? And how can you build from that? I believe it was Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard spoke with 105 Through the Fan, and shout out to those guys, but interesting interview nonetheless. But the thing that I took away from what TP had to say was about what excited him the most. Most people wouldn't say anything like this because it's not anything physical. It's not anything that is wowing. But when you listen to TP, it kind of echoes Mike McCarthy, Schottenheimer, Dak Prescott, Jalen Tolbert, Semi Fehoko, all these guys that have spoken in the offseason about the minute details that make a difference. Here's Tony Pollard speaking about those details.
What excites you most about the changes that are occurring? What do you look at that you've seen this offseason that you go, man, I'm really excited that, we get to do this, or not even particular. It's just like, hey, I'm excited that I think we're going to do this better or that better.
I would say just the way that, we break things down, the way we install things on offense, how we go into the install and make sure guys understand why they're doing things and why they're in this position and why they have to do that and that.
One band, one sound. That is what you're seeing right now. Absolutely. From top to bottom. There is no philosophical differences happen here. And it all goes back to Shoddy Bounce. Kellen is going to be fine. He's going to continue to grow as a coordinator. He'll be fine. I don't worry about him. He's young. He's learning, what have you. There's no need to be young and learning here with Shoddy. You won't have that with Mike. These guys are on the same page, and you've been hearing it since day one, and now these guys are buying into it. Was talking to Aisha about it because she's, before they went to camp, she was obviously around these guys. She emphasized they are bought in. And when you have everybody buying into that, I think at some point during this season, this thing is going to click and roll. Will it happen right off the bat? Maybe not. Maybe you'll have some growing pains within it because there will be some different variations of things. There will be some new things. However, I do think once this thing gets going, it'll be a snowball effect and it will benefit everybody on that offense. 100%. So my apologies for taking y'all down a trip in memory lane per se with these slant flat combinations, but I thought it was important to take a look at it because that's just one concept. That's just one family. There are different families and concepts that you can build on as well. But what I love about what they're saying is that when we do get into a bind, we can lean on something like this and we can build off of it. Come to the sideline, because I guarantee you won't see Dak by himself a whole lot on that sideline like it was with Kellen. I think you'll see Mike McCarthy. Hey, man, what you seeing out there? Hey, man, what about this? What's happening with that? And then Brian Schottenheimer is in that booth. Brian Schottenheimer can say, hey, I'm watching Flott, week one. I'm watching Flott continue to bite on this slant. Let's go ahead and run variation 3 and see if we can get a wheel route going for a touchdown. I think you guys will come to like the Texas Coast or what have you. And yes, I'm going to use Texas Coast, not just West Coast, because they're going to keep things they did. But like Mike McCarthy said, we have to build on that. We have to establish the foundation and build off of those things because you have to tweak and protect your foundation every year because teams will just sit on it, i.e. Devin White. Devin White, week 1, we did nothing different. And he said, oh, yeah, we knew. We knew what was coming. What happened after week 1? Nah. Let's go revisit this play sheet, bruh. We not about to have this. So, not guaranteeing that anything, really. But I think you should feel a little bit excited about the potential of what this scheme could do for this offense. And bring back the fly. See, you must have been watching the show. All right, let's get into the phone lines here, Cowboys Nation. We got Cowboy Jack. Cowboy Jack, they've been waiting for you to call back, my brother. How you doing?
Howdy, Senor Steele.
What's good?
How you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Listen, partner, Cowboy Jack's been itching for some Cowboy news while you and BOCHLOMBARDI was vacating.
Talk to him.
So, while laying next to my inflatable pool, watching that beautiful Laredo sunset, I take a long drag of my cigarette, flip on my radio, and about spew my whiskey all over God's green earth after hearing what these knuckleheads are saying on 105.3 The Fake. But find your peace, Jack. Namaste. Before I even get to that atrocity, I want to politely thank you for daily bringing the truth to the Cowboy masses. Cowboy Jack's a gentleman, and he's got to give credit where it's long overdue. The amount of research, evaluation, dedication, stylization, creation, translation, dissipation that you put into your work is absolutely unmatched, especially by those few dummies over the radio waves. Plain and simple. Sean and RJ are two of the dumbest jackwads I've ever listened to in my life. I mean, dadgum. Sean, more like he shan't have gotten into radio. And what does RJ even stand for? Rotten jockstrap, rejected junk, or even more appropriately, radio joker. Because it seems to me that after hearing him compare Captain Dak to Kirkland's cousins and Burt Baker Mayfield, these two talking tubalards wouldn't know an athlete from a flat tire. Tweedledee and Tweedledummer had Tony Hollard on for an interview yesterday, and they wanted to smell each other's sweat.
Talk to him, Jack. Come on, man. Somebody had to say it, Jack. What was that about?
Sean and RJ, I can smell the hate on you. You ain't one of us, so stop pretending. Now, I got to hang up here shortly. I got my parole officer coming over for a few drinks, and I got to send out these child support checks. But before I do, Cowboy Jack came to a realization when I flipped that radio on. The big market broadcasting, especially when it comes to my beloved Cowboys, is a bunch of bubble gum for the brain, molasses for the mind, and cacophony for the consciousness. Boys and girls, if you can hear my voice, do a favor for old Cowboy Jack. Reach for your phone like you just saw a Tinder message notification so you can first like this video and then share the truth that Senor Steele worked so hard to bring you people. Then after this video ends, I want you to go comment on those 105.3 The Fake videos and tell them where to go to get the real Cowboys news and analyzation right here on A to Z Sports with Skywalker Steele. Tell them Cowboy Jack sent you. Let's go, Cowboys.
And that's the bottom line, because Cowboy Jack said so. Oh, boy. Hey, Cowboy Jack, I'm going to need you to call in more often, good brother. I'm going to need you to do it. Because he right. I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to be respectful, and I'm going to be respectful as I can here, but what the hell was that? We smelling sweat, bro? You got the top running back for the Dallas Cowboys on the show, and we talking about sweat. Thank thank God for Bobby, because I respect him a ton. And honestly, probably saving that damn show. But what are we doing? I appreciate you, Cowboy Jack, for bringing the realness to you. I truly do. I truly do. I'm going to just say this, Cowboys Nation. I will not, when I get with certain interviews, you got to ease your way in there, especially for, Tony he's not an outgoing type of guy. But you got 10 minutes. Precious minutes. You can get something out of this. Have a little fun, but I ain't smelling sweat. Shoot you in the face and wet you. You want to smell his wet? Let me calm down. I just thought it was a big waste of time. But Bobby, shouts out to Bobby. He did ask a real good question, and we got a real good answer out of it. Appreciate you, Cowboy Jack. Hey, Queen, look now, you got a tough one to follow, Miss Queen, and usually everybody has to follow you. But how you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. Can you hear me pretty good?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I can hear you.
Okay, so the only reason I called this morning is because I wanted to explain my super chat.
Oh, Miss Queen, we just supposed to pretend that never happened.
No, because I don't want Michelle to feel some kind of way. So what I was referring to when I said the hard part, which she is the commercials that you were doing all last year.
Oh, Boston Scientific. Yeah.
Yes.
See, that's what she was talking about.
It was just a reference. Yeah, it was a reference to that. It wasn't anything else, outside or out of the way or whatever.
I know.
So I just wanted to explain that. I tried to DM you, but you're so hot for side now. Can't nobody DM you that ain't got no blue check.
That's a lie. That's a lie. My DMs is open.
That's not a lie. No, it's not. I tried to DM you last night, and that thing said if I didn't get verified,
no.
that I could not.
Do I follow you on Twitter?
I don't know.
I don't even have a blue check mark. They took that away. So
I follow you.
So I think,
but it wouldn't let me DM you.
I think so. Twitter is weird, man. Twitter has changed. I can't DM certain people either. I've actually tried to DM certain people and it won't let me. So I got to go see if it's because I don't follow you. I might have to follow you for you to DM me. But the problem with that is, I actually follow certain people I can't DM. So I don't know what's going on over there, but it ain't because I'm high society, man. I talk to people in my DMs all the time for if they can get through. So don't do that to me, Miss Queen. Don't do that now.
No, I'm telling you what it told me.
It didn't say you can't DM Skywalker because he too damn good for you, Miss Queen. It didn't say that.
No, it didn't say that, but that's what the hell it insinuated. I'm like, who I got to give a blowjob so I can DM?
Queen, you just cleaned up the whole thing. You know what? Do your thing. Elon. Holla at Elon.
I love you, Sky. I'll talk to you later.
Salute, Miss Queen. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. We trying to get sponsors on this show, Miss Queen. Now, if we was trying to get Blue Chew, perfect. I will quite literally just clip that out. They don't even need me to do a read. Here you go. I'll pay Miss Queen a couple dollars on the side to do the read. Y'all just want me to keep paying for sushi. I don't know what she talking about. Miss Queen's thoughts are not a direct thought line of Skywalker Steele and A to Z sports media. I digress. Love you, Miss Queen. Again, I thought Cowboy Jack was going to be hard to follow up. Marcus, now you got to follow Miss Queen, bro. I mean, good luck.
Hey, yo, man, I'm rich, all right, already. Just watching, just hearing you and Patrick talk. Go ahead, Sal. Don't let me cut you off.
Yeah, real quick, bro. I'm having a hard time hearing you, bro. It sounds like you out on the racetrack.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, man, I'm out. Hold on, give me one.
I'm gonna come back to you.
No, get back to it. Get back to it.
You know what it sound like, Mark? Hold on, it sound like Marcus is quite literally running for the ops right now. It sound like he running for. Get back to me, Marcus. I'm gonna come back to you, Marcus. I got you, bro. D. Sean, they heard from D. Sean in the grip. What's good, bro?
What up, bro? So first off, 105.3 kind of always been that corny show that asks like kind of dumb questions. Because I was looking at the Mozzie one. I was looking at the Mozzie one, and Mozzie was he looked so disinterested because they was asking him questions like, you know, about the Michigan thing and everything like that. And all Mozzie was like, bro, I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't do this whole Dallas Cowboy thing. I just want to go out to the field and knock somebody's head off. I said, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because
that was with Law and them, right?
No, 105.3 fan did it.
Okay.
He did it earlier.
Okay, so he basically repeated what he said with them. And anybody that might be looking for Mozzie Smith stuff, it's tough to really see because what Mozzie Smith is going to bring on the practice field is with pads, not without pads.
He said that. He said, I can't even do what I want to do because I don't got the pads yet. And I also like his competition level because they was asking him, he was like, who the person that you want to go up against? He was like, I want to go against everybody. And then they was asking him, do you feel like the Zach Martin thing kind of affects you? He was like, yeah, I'm trying to go up against him. Like, I want my best on best. So hearing that type of talk that was amazing to me because he's not really about the social media thing. He's just out there to knock somebody's head off. He said, I'm trying to win 1-on-1s, 2-on-1s, don't matter. It could be 3-on-1. I'm still trying to win. So I like hearing that type of talk. The Dak Prescott thing, oh my gosh, they're throwing it so out of proportion. Oh my Lord. I've never seen so many people like panic off of one interception. It's like, dude, the ball was in Simmy's hands. He didn't make the play. Eric Scott Jr. did. Congratulations to Eric Scott Jr. Like, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's the first practice, man.
No. I mean, the conversation shouldn't even be about Dak. It should be about Simmy, you know. And that's why I said, like, look, it's fair. It's fair to get on Simmy. You want to cut him, let's relax. But it's fair to get on Simmy because he can't have that. Especially, you know, depth players. Depth players can't really afford to not practice well, right? Because if you're not practicing well, and I don't think this will happen with Simmy, but if you're super down the depth chart, you're not practicing well, they won't give you a lot of time in preseason. They'll look at it as a waste of time, and you'll get in there in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left. So these depth players got to practice well so they can get that chance to be out there catching passes from Dak Prescott at practice and then carry that over into preseason. And hopefully, you know, he bounces back today and moving forward, and we're not having a conversation about worried about him.
And then Sam Williams, I was impressed with him. Now his nickname is Slam Williams because West Coast Slam. I seen a video of him, and he went up to Sam Williams. He was like, Slam Williams. He was like, you can't be doing that to these people. They got kids. He was like, sorry, man. I'm sorry. That was funny to me because the reps he was getting against Terrence, I thought Sam was like earlier when the guy was talking about, I seen the video, I thought Sam was going to win when he did that spit. And when Terrence stayed, I said, oh, he's back. And I love seeing it. I love seeing that he's like fully healthy, that it's nothing bothering him, nothing lingering on him. So that eased a lot of people's consciousness, especially since your right tackle's back. You don't have to do all the moving all around.
And again, you're more so looking at the movement when they don't have pads. And honestly, that's why this tweet, I think you're talking about the Pat Walker tweet, right? Where he came out and said, look, it was a great move by Sam Williams. Flawless move, but it was also flawless execution by Terrence. I actually take more away from the Terence Steele situation here because he is dealing with the ACL, right? So if he's moving well, and combative to Sam Williams making a nice move on him, that's great without pads. Now, once the pads come on, you're going to have a lot more pushing and pulling and not just kind of, hey, I'm going to push, I'm going to pull, but we can't go too crazy yet because we don't got the pads. But from what I was hearing down there, and Pat talked about it, these guys are fired up. These guys might not have pads on, but they're very close to hitting type of situation. There's some physicality in the drills that they're doing and the 7-on-7s that they're doing. And guys that kind of stood out in that manner was a guy like Sam, was a guy like DeMarvion Overshown, and some others that defenders that you can't really hit, but you can see how they're moving and how explosive they are.
And then the last thing was the running back thing. It was a running back drill, which was, you can see how quick they was moving their feet. with Tony and Deuce, I was seeing it was so effortless to them. It was kind of it was going in and out, in and out, in and out. Jones kind of scared me a little bit because the way he was moving, he was kind of moving slow, and then he knocked on the pins down. I was like, damn. But all the other running back was
Jones ain't known for his quickness. Jones more power, and then when he gets out in open space, he's shown that he has some wiggle. But I mean, if you're looking at Deuce and you're looking at TP, then you're like, damn, Jones, you ain't like them. That's never going to happen. That ain't never going to happen, bro.
It's fine though. Like I said, I'm still waiting. I hope day 2 show more. I'm ready for the one-on-one. That's what I'm ready for. I'm with Vosh. The off the pass stuff is cool, but I'm ready to see people kind of hit people now.
Well, we got a couple days, man. July 31st, I believe, is the first pad practice, and that's just unfortunately we got to wait. But I'm just excited that we got training camp football and we get to see these guys out there moving. You see some 7-on-7s, you see some drills because we couldn't see any of this stuff during OTAs, and you can gauge some things, but you can't really gauge much. And in my opinion, when it comes to running backs, you can't gauge anything unless you're doing one-on-ones against linebackers. I think linebackers and running backs have it the toughest because they're just going to thud up. They're just going to, touch, tag, they're not hitting. And it's going to take preseason to really get a feel for a guy. I don't think TP's playing preseason. But for like Deuce Vaughn, Ronald Jones, Malik Davis, these guys are going to have preseason to really stake their claim. Hunter Lipke to stake their claim on this team.
All right, man. Shout out to Don. I hope he get healthy real soon. I'll talk to you later, Kyle.
Salute. Good stuff right there. The reason why I was laughing earlier, man. Swain, you crazy, dog. Swain said, sponsored by knee pads, all colors and sizes. Y'all don't miss. Gotta get that drop. Don't log out that motherfucker don't miss. Y'all do not miss in this chat, man. Nah. I saw a couple of super chats. Let me get to a couple of them since I've seen them.
Super chat.
Tiana Ellis, thank you for the $10. Said yes indeed. That TP interview is why new media is needed. Come on. Vach, Lawfoots, Boss, Landlord, Okoye, etc. deserve those interviews. You can relate to the players, get info, and entertain with the best of them. Come on. New media, man, we here, bro. I gotta get with Tuck and them. We got to come up. We really got to push this movement. I mean, gear. I mean, visuals. All of it. All of it. T. Gordon dropped one.
Super chat.
Said when they updated Twitter, they put message settings to a default, so you have to go in and adjust your settings so folks can message you. Thank you, T. Gordon. I appreciate that because I promise you, Miss Queen, I'm not Mr. High and Mighty or whatever on no damn Twitter. Not at all. And sometimes, look, I can definitely get annoyed with some of the craziness that might come through some of these DMs. But nonetheless, what makes this community special is that we can touch the fans, right? We not literally, but digitally, we can touch the fans and have these conversations. So I'm gonna have to figure this out, Miss Queen, and see if we can open this back up. Cause look, I got who is it? Jess. Y'all remember Jess? She's still in the chat with us. Miss Jackie is in the chat. On Twitter, we got a DM chat with looks like Tuck is in here. Who else is in here? Rome is in here. So yeah, it's there. I just don't know what's happening. Miss Sadiqa, she hit me up. So try again. Let's just try this thing one more time. What my guy say? Not 50 grand, but 100. He's back. What's good, bro?
Hey, man, apparently DJs make them Twitter DMs dance, baby.
Go on, dog. Go on, man. Y'all really, look, I'm about to go broke on sushi. 100 grands, thoughts and opinions on Twitter DMs and services are not the thoughts of Skywalker Steele and A to Z Sports Media. And that was to Michelle. I had to admit that be known to Michelle. Good Lord. You know what? Just because he said that, Queen, You're right. My Twitter DMs are shut down. Ain't nobody coming in my Twitter DMs no more if you can't get in there right now. No special treatment. Golly. Go ahead, Honey Gray.
Too early in the morning for that. I had to do that. I said, what?
This brother's
She ain't
starving.
got no filter. None.
Yeah, she don't. That's why we love her, though. That's why we love
her. Facts.
What's on your mind, Honey Gray?
That interview was terrible, man. I listened to that yesterday. I said, what? What are y'all doing with Tony Pollard up there, man? $20? I'll do it for $20. What? I get it. I understand. You want to try to be entertaining, but
right.
Come on, man. That was a waste of time. I think Tony, and I'm listening to Tony. I'm like, he probably like, I'm ready to go, man. I don't. He looking at them like, y'all really roll like that? Like, that's how y'all roll? Like, come on, man. Like, for real. Like, that was crazy.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
You could say, and Tony, real dude, right? Like, he not for all that foo-foo.
Yeah.
And you could tell that he was in that interview and listening to these questions, trying to hold off from, like you said, saying, is this what y'all really on? You know, but he got to be respectful. He's obligated to do these interviews, so he can't shut that. He can't shut it down.
Contract.
Yeah,
it's in his contract, so he got to do it. It's not like, he ain't got no choice, or he'll get fined. So he got to do it. But boy, that was terrible.
Facts.
That was terrible. I ain't gonna lie to you. And the Dak Prescott interception, man, y'all need to stop, man. Y'all need to stop. Semi about to get cut. Get him out of here. He on the verge of getting cut. I'm telling you that right now. Mike McCarthy gonna cut that boy.
Yeah, that's the sense from the Cowboys Nation coming out of that drop is fire him, get him out of here. To me, I'm saying relax. Look, man, Semi and Jalen ain't going nowhere, but Semi and I think is the one that has to really show out in this one because Jalen got the kind of draft pedigree to be able to mess up. Like if he mess up, he
showed improvements though. That's the thing about him.
Well,
he's showing improvements, but Semi ain't doing nothing.
But Semi was showing improvements prior to camp. But what I'm getting at is these guys are going to have days. That's just life, right? That's just going to happen. There's going to be good and bad days. But the one that I don't think can afford to have a bunch of them is Semi because he doesn't have the draft pedigree anymore. He's in the year 3. Year 1, cool. Yep. Year 2, year 3, 5th round pick. We don't really care no more. Now it's time to go. Whereas third round pick, Jalen Tolbert, if Jalen has a day or two, Jalen not getting cut. So Semi's the one that need to bounce back because dudes like Moreno Cropper is at his heels.
Exactly. And I was just about to say that. And he's cheaper. Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah. No lies.
That's what.
No lies told.
So, that's just facts, man. And I was for a minute there I was like, where is Turpin? But then I realized he was having a baby and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You can't afford to be missing no time, buddy boy, because I'm on the verge like if we get a trade partner for him while he high, can we get like a 5th?
For who?
4th or 5th? Turpin.
So you talking about trade?
Since he made the Pro Bowl? Yeah.
I mean, you know what?
If we see that he can't do anything, why cut him? We got him for 2 more years. So why can't we just get a trade partner and see if we can get a 5th or 6th?
Let's entertain that $100,000. So let's say, because you're not going to trade anybody at the beginning. Let's say we get to a couple preseason games. If Turpin once again has a touchdown, I don't think you're trading him. I think you're like, okay, you're excited about what he can do as a returner, and he'll stay here. So if he does well on special teams in the preseason, I feel like you keep him around. If he doesn't, do you think the luster, falls off of him and you can't get anything for him if you're trying to put him on the market?
That's why I'm like, you got to trade him while he high. You got to trade him while he high. But I understand we got a kind of an issue with that because they already saying how Deuce is not a returner. He's a running back.
He's a running back. Trying to learn how to be a returner,
I thought they wasn't putting him back there at all.
And I know in OTAs he will. I can't speak again. That's why I hate not being down there. But I can't speak to if he was back there catching passes without Turpin there.
That's
which
what Mike
I'd be
said.
surprised.
That's what Mike said.
He said he wasn't
That's
back
what Mike
there.
said. Yeah, Mike said
very
he's not a returner.
So I wonder
Mike
who they
said
had.
he's not a returner. So
I wonder who they had back there, because that backup role to every position is always interesting, because if a guy goes down, who does it? I feel like it'd be in his best interest. And when you listen to, and I don't have the video anymore, I can bring it up another day. But when you listen to Deuce Vaughn, he talked about the understanding that I need to develop a special teams aspect to my game to get on the field early in my career. And he got that advice from his mentor, Darren Sproles. So a bit shocked that they're not attempting it here in camp.
Now, maybe, again, that was just the first day. We'll see what happens today. But I feel like we should keep our eyes open to that, man, to see if we can get some value, man, and see if we can get something instead of just cutting these guys and not getting anything. And we can at least get a fourth or fifth day pick or something.
$100,000. I'm on the hill here that I don't think he's. I think that is their special teams guy. I think he's making the team. No, he would have to be terrible returning kicks in preseason and terrible in practice returning kicks to not make the team. I think at the very least they're looking at Turpin as a return guy, and there's not much that's going to be able to move them off of that unless Turpin is absolutely just bad at it. So I'm kind of just content with understanding, look, he's going to be on his team, and my kind of focus is elsewhere. But look, I would love nothing more than a guy like Moreno Cropper or Deuce Vaughn or one of these rookies to say, hey, look, I can provide more than just receiver. I can go do some return, or running back. I can do some return things too, and that puts pressure on a guy like Turpin.
Okay, now when you say that, he's a wide receiver, so you see us sticking with 6.
Yeah, I think
Who's the 6?
I think
who's the 6?
I think 5 or 6. I mean, so who's the top 3? We got the top 3, the big 3, and CeeDee Lamb, Cooks, Michael Gallup. If I'm counting Turpin's the other one, and then Jalen Tolbert. I think those are essentially locks. If they go 6, that's where the fight becomes. That's why I say Semi is not guaranteed nothing. He has to go out here and carry over the last year's camp into this year. Bad start to start off. So now the battle comes between Semi Fehoko, Moreno Cropper. You got the West Florida kid who was out there with Dak Prescott, and a couple other Dennis Houston, right? Dennis Houston year 2. Can Dennis Houston step up too? So that's kind of your battle that's going to happen unless Semi creeps back up into, well, can I establish myself again into the wide receiver 4 conversation? Look, I'm not ready to write him out of the wide receiver 4 conversation off of one play. Like we've got ton between now and the start of the season, but it's not a good start, admittedly.
No, it's not.
Nah, he got to bounce back.
It's not. And man, I mean, I only want to cut Turpin if we see that we can't do nothing for him. He can't do anything. Now, if he comes into camp and we see him in the passing system and we see he's expanding his game, and then I'm like, okay. Yeah. Maybe we should keep the boy.
Yeah, we want to see it.
You know what I mean? Because that's what he spoke about. He said, he can do more, and they said that they got a plan for him, so I want to see the plan. I mean, we did things with Cole Beasley back in the day. We can do some things with him.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, bro. I'm with you there, 100%. I want to see it with him from an offensive standpoint, and I will feel so much better about his position on this team, because if he doesn't contribute offensively, then damn it, you better be a legitimate Pro Bowl returner, not whatever that was last year, $100,000.
Exactly, but like you say, and I got to give him some grace.
And close.
He did come. Yeah, I know.
I got you.
He did come close. He did play 2 seasons. So with him being in the USFL, so you kind of give him a little break for that. Gotta give him a break for that.
I'm a little bit harder on him. I'm a little bit harder on him with that, but that's fair. Now show me now, Turpin. Appreciate you, honey.
Facts. All right, my brother.
Good stuff, man. I knew today was going to be a good one. Training camp's back, football's in the air. Appreciate almost 600 of y'all combined in this chat. Do me a favor, man, if you're enjoying today's show, go right on ahead, scroll up, click, whatever you're doing. If you're on your TV, I know they got the remote. You can go and do the same thing. Hit that like button. We are only beginning We are only beginning our training camp coverage. It's going to be fire all off season, whether I'm there or not, which could be the latter based off of what I'm hearing. And let me bring that up real quick before I get to my Oos and Charlie Murphy on the horn and bring Marcus back up in here. Was listening to Law, talking to Law. I was also talking to Vach a couple weeks ago about it. It's not looking too great, from a fan aspect of things down there. I do understand they're charging $250 a day to be out there to get a certain area. Where last year, if you were part of DC United, you paid $300 all off season. You had the VIP access. It's $250 a day now to get that type of access, right? And for families that want to bring out, their kids and their wives or their husbands or whatever, that's a lot of money, man. That's tough. And then the setup apparently is not that great for the fans either. And you kind of got to hope that they pick the side of the field that you're going to be on. And I get it, man. Like, we are connected to certain people down there, but if that doesn't work out and you kind of got to be amongst, disadvantages when it comes to trying to report, is it worth it now? Something I was thinking about, and that kind of sucks. So I might end up just waiting until they come back down here in Dallas at the Star, and they can't really do anything about that. The Star is a legitimate facility of football. Got two sides. There's nothing you can do. Fans come in. It's a much better experience, in my opinion, from a fan perspective, as opposed to out there in Oxnard compared to what's apparently happening right now. So, I mean, that's a bit much, man. That's a bit much. So our girls in here from a BLS podcast, it's $250 a day for the VIP access. $250 a day per person. That's wild. Where last year you paid $300, previous years, $300. You get this little card. I got it still in my wallet. Dallas Cowboys United. You show them your VIP. You had the access down there at training camp in Oxnard, and you had the access up here at the Star. One payment, $300. They're charging it a day to get the VIP access. Come on, man. Come on, Jerry. That ain't right. That ain't right, man. All right, let's see if Marcus is good now. Before I bring you in, Marcus, let me get a test real quick.
Okay. Man, what's going on? I'm sorry. I got to stay here to them people, I got to stay here to people. There's forecasts out here, I gotta do what I gotta do.
That's cool. That's cool. I got you a little bit better. You ain't running for the ops no more, so I can hear you a little bit better.
Man, crazy. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I need to stop leaning into that, man. Only because people have to be for real. Man, your chat is lit. I don't know how much you're looking at it, man, but they wild up in there, man. Ain't nobody trying to shut it down either, I guess, because the weather report is still.
So what happens with the chat, right? Like, I can't follow it all by myself. That's why the beauty of being on Vach's show, like when Vach is talking, I can kind of watch the chat. I can't follow it all. So when y'all talk, I try to peek over there and I'll be finding some gems, and that's why I'll be over here cracking up. But what you got for me today, Marcus?
Man, what I got, man, wow. You, of course, know C. Patrick, man, with the science, man, that little film, little breakdown you did, tying all this together again to what Mike McCarthy was saying in his press conference, boiling it down to, it's not necessarily about the who and the what, it's about the how and the why. Man, I can't believe how simple he makes it. And again, I figure out how smart somebody is, not about what they saying, but what they telling me. You know what I mean? Mike McCarthy's got no problem telling you what it is you need to know. Mm-hmm. Because he knows what he's talking about. And again, I'm not going to get back and forth with what was going on before, but Mike McCarthy knows what he's talking about. And this brings to mind to me something Nate Newton does all the time. I love Big Nate. Whenever Nate says something, I'm all ears. He got that show over there on Cowboys.com. Mm-hmm.
I listen to him too. Even if I disagree, I'm listening.
Yeah. And Nate says all the time, whenever he gets a chance, he says all the time, what Jimmy Johnson used to do was Jimmy never coached the players. He never talked. Never had any kind of relationship with them. He had one with Troy, sort of, maybe 2 or 3 other guys, but he never coached the players. Jimmy Johnson did. Jimmy would coach the coordinators, the offensive, defensive, and special teams coordinators. He would coach them. He would tell them what he was looking for, what he wanted to do, what he was going to be okay with, what he wasn't going to be okay with. He didn't get into specifics with them, meaning what kind of schemes y'all were going to run, not any of that stuff. He just told them what he wanted to do, right? So what Jimmy would do was coach the coordinators. So from there, the coordinators would get the vision, the philosophy from the head coach. The coordinators, offense, defense, special teams, they would go and coach their position coach. The OC would coach the quarterback coach, the running back coach, all that.
Yeah.
Same thing on the defense side. And what they would do is they would tell the position coaches what the head coach was looking for, and we're going to make our schemes and concepts work with this philosophy that the coach has. It goes back to what you were saying once about Bill Belichick a few days ago, and why so many people get jobs with Belichick, but they're not successful. So they don't just necessarily have Belichick's philosophy, right? And so, it happens. The coaches, the coordinators coach the position coaches, and then the position coaches go and coach the players. And they coach the players on technique, and they coach the players on where to be and how to be and what to do, right? So the who and the what gets taken care of, right? That's what training camp is for. You're taking care of the who and the what. You ain't going to have no semis out there dropping on football. You ain't going to have that. And the who and the what is going to take care of itself. The how and the why is when you start to separate yourself as a football team. And when just watching some of those passing scheme concepts, again, Schottenheimer, he's got his stuff married to running. Even though he can spread people out, I believe he's from his dad's school and he's from that Shanahan tree of running it, even though he knows how he wants to go to a kind of a spread look and spread people out and do stuff like that. He can do that, obviously. He's going to expand what he did in Seattle because he didn't have a whole lot to work with in Seattle, especially not when he got started.
Here's what I like about the Schottenheimer-McCarthy combination here is that I think Schottenheimer is going to help McCarthy kind of stay in this new era of football in a sense. And I know McCarthy hasn't called, plays since 2018. So some could say, hey, man, McCarthy is old school or what have you, right? But what I'm hoping the beauty of Mike McCarthy is that he understands and he admitted, yeah, I got a bit stale at that point in time. So I understood that I need to change some things up. And so what do? They go out there and they revamp their entire analytics team. Their entire analytics team has been revamped to bring in a lot of smart people. I don't know what type of impact that's going to have, behind the scenes, but the fact that he's understanding, hey, let's kind of switch these things up here. Let's get better in this area from an advanced analytics standpoint should show that McCarthy is definitely trying to adapt to the new age of football or has adapted to the new age of football. And then you bring in a Schottenheimer. Schottenheimer has called plays in this era, and he's done it successfully. Right, he helped groom, Russell Wilson to his best stint as a passing quarterback and the best stint from a Seattle offensive standpoint in their last decade. So I think between the analytics, between bringing Schottenheimer in here, and between Mike McCarthy understanding how to win a Super Bowl and how to call plays and understanding family and concepts and foundations. It spells, in my opinion, a quality offense for the foreseeable future. It's just a matter of when, right? Like when and how fast will we see that? Because somebody brought this up a while ago, and I don't mean to go on, but somebody brought this up. Dan Quinn has gotten 3 years to implement all of his things. He got 3 years to do it, and he got 3 years of rope to kind of do it, right? He got year one, he took a historically bad offense our defense and turned it into a number one in regards to turnovers, but there were still things he had to get better at. Year two, it got better. He got more pieces. Now in year three, unfortunately for McCarthy, I don't think he's going to have 3 years. I think he's going to need to show some drastic improvements in situational football and other aspects of the offense now. And if he does that, then he'll be able to establish more rope. But if he doesn't show any drastic improvements in certain areas of this game, of this offense, that rope might get cut.
I would hate that, man. Because to me, again, you stolen 3 years of a 4-year contract from a guy that's capable of doing what you hired him to do in the first place. I know you do. I know you do. So you know. Go ahead.
No. I mean, I think it's not fair to him, but that's you kept hearing him say it. He said, "Hey, look, man, we're starting at square one in certain aspects, or this is the first year I'm able to do what I want to do, or things like that." And it's so idiotic to bring in a guy like him and not establish that right away. So by the time you get to year 3 and 4, there it's kind of second nature to these guys and to the front office. But Jones is going Jones.
Yeah. Again, that's just more that I'm just tired of that kind of undermining, because whatever everybody wants to say about it, if nobody else is going to say it, I'll say, hey, look, Jerry Jones stole a Super Bowl away from Jimmy Johnson. If Jimmy Johnson had stayed here, the Cowboys would have won 4 straight Super Bowls from 1992 to 1996. All right. They would have beat San Francisco up there in 1994, because Jimmy Johnson wouldn't have let them fall down 3 scores at the start of the game. And he would have been over there channeling his Woody Hayes over there, whatever the hell Switzer was doing, running into the stopping them from coming back and all of that stuff. He wouldn't have done that, because, again, Jerry had spent 30 years trying to recreate what Jimmy did, not understanding how Jimmy did it. That's back to my point over there. That's why he made so comment about anybody can coach the team. No, that team coached itself because it got coached by somebody that knew how to coach. You don't know what's going on. You don't understand the nuance. That's that thing with McCarthy. They understand nuance. Again, McCarthy, like you said, he's going to let Schottenheimer put the offense together. Like you said, he understands he's been out of that for a minute.
I mean,
he's got his West Coast foundation. Yeah.
Listen to Troy Aikman.
He's got his West Coast foundation.
Listen to Troy Aikman towards the end of or not even towards the middle of the end of his career. Once Jimmy left, he was sick. A lot of people, and there's still fans that believe coaching really doesn't matter. They just assume just throw out the players and the players will take care of everything. Players obviously are highly critical. Like, you need to have good players. But I think it was Bill Belichick who said, if you don't got good coaching, it don't matter. And Troy Aikman had to quite literally say, what is up with this country club ass atmosphere? I can't coach these people. Somebody need to coach. There's a video of it if you want to go see it, people out there that don't believe what I'm saying here. But Troy Aikman, at the end of his career, was upset with the whole country club aspect of what's the name, riding the coattails of Jimmy Johnson. Barry Switzer. We had this conversation about ranking the head coaches. This is why I didn't put Barry Switzer in my top 3, because all the players, Darren Woodson, Mike, Emmett, Irvin, Nate, all these guys said, hey, look, man, appreciate you, Barry, but you ain't did nothing. You didn't do nothing. You wasn't coaching us. We were coaching ourselves, man. And when you go look at some of these all-time great players, championship quality players, look at how many of them are connected to some great coaches.
Right.
Look at them.
You can't separate those two. You can't separate it, man.
Pat Mahomes is probably not Pat Mahomes without Andy Reid. Probably not
exactly.
happening.
I have said that. Yeah, he would be Patrick Mahomes, but he wouldn't be a champion. He wouldn't be winning.
Come on.
3.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Everybody says they want to win. Come on, man. Come on. As people say they want to win, again, when you don't know how and you don't know why, I don't care what you stand around and look like you do it.
You think you think Jason Garrett winning 6 championships with Tom Brady? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
If Belichick can do that, he'll be the first one to tell you. But another thing, he won't say it out loud, but he knows. One more thing, man, Scott. One more thing, man, I'll let you go, Scott. Hey, again, we have lacked good coaching here. And again, you look at Mike Tomlin over there. I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers. I will hate them forever. I don't care who's playing for them. I don't care who's coaching them. And I love Mike Tomlin. But he's coaching the wrong damn football team, and I'll tell him to his face right, let him get the chance. So having said that, I love Mike Tomlin. He hasn't had a quarterback over there in 4 years. And he's in a hell of a division. It's tough. Cincinnati done got good. Baltimore's been good for a minute. Baltimore's always been good in some way, shape, or form. Cleveland messed around and got good for a minute. Might still be good. He ain't got an easy road, and he's still winning 7, 8, 9 games a year without a quarterback. Kyle Shanahan then got to a Super Bowl, got the 2 championship games in 5 or 6 seasons. He don't have a quarterback. You can't tell me that's not about coaching. That's what you do when you coach. You find a way.
Coaching matters. I will say this about Mike though. Mike embodies Pittsburgh. Yeah, I think he's like the perfect fit for a coach in Pittsburgh, man. He embodies them so greatly. But I remember when we were looking for our head coach, was it the 2008 or 2010, was it? It was 10. I think Mike, and I think it was John Harbaugh and Jim. I think all those guys are kind of right around the same area. There was parts of me that I knew Jason was about to be the head coach because of what he did in 2007 and those couple years in between. But I was like, man, I would love to take a chance and go get Mike Tomlin or go get a John Harbaugh or Jim or somebody like that. But it was hard to fire Wade. But we knew Wade had a limit, and his limit got reached.
Exactly. And that would be a travesty if you can stand around here and give Jason Garrett 10 years, you give Kellen Moore 4 years to jack around with somebody else's career, and you only going to give Mike McCarthy 1 year? When he's coming in here cleaning up your messes.
Facts. That's real, Marcus.
That's ridiculous. And again, that's the indictment on you. Man, Jerry, I don't care what kind of – he can spin place. He can hold press conferences. He can be sauced up, drunk. I don't care. Man, get your hands off of that football team. The only thing you should have your hands on is that Super Bowl trophy when they go and win it for you. Stop trying to take credit for it. Stop that. Stop that. I don't care what kind of owner you are. If you just go be a damn owner. You and Robert Kraft need to go swap notes. You never see Robert Kraft walking around on the field. All you see is Robert Kraft is doing holding damn Super Bowl trophy.
They ain't asking
That's all you saw him doing.
They ain't asking Robert Kraft about one text.
Yeah. And Robert Kraft can show Jerry how to be an owner and win Super Bowls, and Jerry can show Robert Kraft how to run them. Oh, don't let me say that out loud, neither. But hey, go ahead and do your show.
Nah, I'll let you speak.
I love that about Mike McCarthy. I love that he knows. So he ain't got no problem telling you what he knows because he does know. Like I said for the longest. So go ahead, Scott. Good show, man. Great show.
I appreciate you, Marcus. Marcus is a very, very smart fan, man. Smart fan. Even if I disagree with him, he always spits something that make me think, man. But he said Mike knows. Yeah, he's been there, done that. He knows what it takes to build a championship organization and win a championship in this era. He knows more than Jerry, believe it or not. He knows more than Steven, believe it or not, in this era because he's done it and he kept a championship quality team for years and years to come. And I just showed you, right? All-time great quarterback. You know, we were looking at these plays earlier. I just showed you a ton of these plays. I mean, this is just the foundation. This is just the family of plays we talked about. But these are simple concepts, simple plays that are built in a team that has an all-time great quarterback. Simple things. You know, then there's going to be times where your quarterback's going to have to save your coordinator or your coach. And there's going to be times when your coach or your coordinator is going to have to save your quarterback or your team. There needs to be a healthy balance in that for sure. Me and Jesse talk about it a lot. Hey, man, I'm going to need a couple games out of you. I'm going to need you to out-coach somebody sometimes at some point because I'm already going to be relying on my players to outplay these guys week in, week out for sure. But you're going to run into a team that matches you or run into a team that has a better coach or better players or just as good. What do you do then? Where coaching comes in, man. Great call, Marcus. That was fun. Let's get Charlie Murphy. What's good, bro?
What up, big dog? So yeah, that was a good ass last call.
Was
it really was, bro. He's always a good call. My thoughts on Dan Quinn having the past 3 years to kind of set up his defense, like you were saying. I agree with you, but also I think that Mike has had since the COVID year of being here and being around Dak and relatively the same players, and watching CD become what he is. And so, like, I thought that I saw somewhere that they're not changing the entire offensive playbook. It's like 70% keep and 30% change. Like the 30% is going to be the key, right? And so I don't think that it's going to be like Dan Quinn came in here. He needed to scrap the whole shit because that thing was a mess, right? He was going in the toolbox. He was like, what the fuck is toothpicks doing in this shit when we're trying to fix a car, right? Like he was trying to figure all of it out. I don't think Mike McCarthy is having to do all of that, you know, and then we bring in Brandon Cooks as a wide receiver too. He's a vet. He doesn't need a long time to get it. You know, he knows what he needs to do. Michael Gallup's been here for a minute, so I don't think that it's gonna be one of those things where it's like, damn, we should have, which I do think that we should have installed it like right when Mike McCarthy got here, because he is an offensive head coach. But I think that we're gonna be perfectly fine. Like, I think that this is gonna be something that you were saying, like Mike is kind of on the hot-ish seat in terms of we need to see drastic improvement like ASAP.
I say that as it's unfair is why I say that. I think he should be given the same room to grow it the way he sees fit as Kellen did. But I don't think that's going to happen from the organization or from the fan base. I don't think he's going to be given that same time frame. I feel like if we don't see some improvements in some areas, I'm not saying they should fire him, but I think it's going to be possible his seat is going to be on fire. So that time, that room is gone. That room was when you signed him. Now is, and this is the good thing. You brought this up. Very great point. Fortunately for him, it's not like you're changing the entire offense. So he's got a lot of the things coming back. He's got a lot of the players coming back. He knows what needs to be tweaked. So maybe that learning curve is shortened a bit when it comes to things that need to be improved or need to be tweaked. So I think that is a great point, and I do think that will favor him in implementing what he wants to do. Let me answer a question real quick from Will in the comments here. He said, so we don't think that Pat Mahomes can win a Super Bowl with this roster and Mike McCarthy? Of course I think that. I think Dak Prescott can win a Super Bowl with this roster and Mike McCarthy running the ship. The things we're talking about is, could he win a Super Bowl with Jason Garrett, Scott Linehan?
I don't think.
Kellen Moore.
I don't think they
running ship.
Nope.
Right? Mike McCarthy. This is Mike McCarthy's ship now. It hasn't been his ship until now. I believe Dak Prescott can win a Super Bowl with this roster and with Mike McCarthy running the ship. Just as much as I think Joe Burrow could, Pat Mahomes could, Justin Herbert could. Any of these other top flight quarterbacks in this league, I think, can do the same thing with a really good roster and really good coaching, especially when you got Dan Quinn on the other side. So to answer your question, yes, I think Dak can, and I think Pat Mahomes can. I think Herbert can. I think Burrow can. Allen, et cetera, et cetera.
No, I agree with all that shit. Coaching is key as hell. Like, when I was younger, bro, I didn't really think, like, you know, when you're younger, you just watch the players. You don't understand how big of a impact coaching is with all this. But, like, as I got older, it's like Jason Garrett, you know, the clapper, like, that shit was so frustrating for me. And I knew we weren't getting good coaching. Rod Marinelli, you know, he did some things, but that was frustrating as hell. Like, running George Selvey out there.
Let me tell you the difference of having a head coach learning on a job compared to a head coach that's like that. Alex Smith, you know what I mean? Head coaches he went through that was learning on a job, you know? And I'm talking about period. Mike Singletary wasn't head coach nowhere. Tom Sula, he wasn't no head coach somewhere. Then he gets in a guy that has been a head coach, successful one in college, turns around a bit, goes to another team with the head coach that went to the Super Bowl, NFC championships, renowned as one of the best offensive minds in football, and he becomes a Pro Bowl type of quarterback, a much better type of quarterback. So that's true. So you cannot discount, you know, organizational how that organization functions from top to bottom. I'll give you one more. Easy one. Matthew Stafford was looked at as a loser in Detroit, goes to the Rams, wins the Super Bowl. I can keep going, but just leave it at that.
No, and you can look at it again real quick with Aaron Rodgers, bro. Like, you know, a lot of people, and I'll sit here and say he's one of the top 3 most talented throwers of the football in NFL history. In my mind, at least, that's how I feel. Right? Aaron? He's one of the most talented. Yes, Aaron.
Oh, yeah, he's freaky.
He's one of the most, if not number one. Like, I really do, talent-wise, throwing that ball, yes. But here's the thing. Everybody wants to, you know, lick him up and say he's amazing and Aaron Rodgers this and all that shit, right? Yeah. He has won 1 Super Bowl, and that was in 2010 with Mike McCarthy, right?
That's a whole other conversation, bro. It's hard to do that, right? Drew Brees.
Oh, it is.
All-time great, 1 Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers, all-time great, 1 Super Bowl. Dan Marino, all-time great, 1 Super Bowl. Like, it's hard to actually win that. The hell, it took to the very end of Elway's career, all-time great. Got one of them things.
Yeah, dude.
Steve Young, all-time great. Got one of them things. Yeah, so that's a whole different conversation. It's hard to, but that's why if and when we do it, you ain't gonna be able to tell me nothing. Yeah, everybody get mad at Philly fans. I said this before, and I'll leave it at this. Philly fans ain't gonna have shit on Cowboy fans once we get another ring. Oh yeah, look, you ain't gonna be able to tell me nothing for a long time.
Yo, no, yeah, I agree, bro. I agree. It's crazy too because it's like you look at the ones like Breeze and Rodgers, like you just said. Actually, you know they won one. It's hard to get back, and they've had great rosters since they won one, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's like, but Joe Flacco won one. Nick Foles took them into the playoffs. So you really just need the right momentum and coaching and players around. It's like you need the perfect storm, you know, and it's so rare that you're going to run into a Chiefs dynasty, Patriots dynasty type of thing. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, bro. If we won this year or, you know, the year after within the next 2 years and we turned it into a little dynasty real quick, like I would – you see me over the moon, but I don't think that's
it hasn't been
happen,
a back-to-back Super Bowl champion since the Patriots did it in the early 2000s. You know, so with the implementation of the salary cap, and I use that in quotes, but it's real, in the sense of, you know, teams are using that to not bring back players, and other players are going to get paid elsewhere. You can't keep the teams together like you used to. So it's tough, and that's where the coaching, that's why, you know, Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, guys that are able to keep their organizations relevant playoff-wise, championship-wise, year in, year out, you don't let those guys go.
No. Do you think Mike is one of those guys that 2 straight back-to-back 12
I think he has potential to be, bro.
Struggle with the career?
I do. I think he was, right? Like he was one of those guys in Green Bay. Then it ended well. It did not end well at the end of Green Bay. And then he had to come to Dallas. It started off rocky in his first year with all the injuries. But like you said, back-to-back 12-win seasons, technically improvements, because you went 12-5, lost in the wild card. Second year, went 12-5, won a playoff game. Third year, can you go 13-4, 12-5, and win 2 or 3 playoff games, right? So we're technically seeing improvements. I do believe in Mike McCarthy's cultural impact. I think that he definitely builds the right culture. But here in Dallas, bro, it ain't Cincy. This ain't Nashville. You know, salute to Mike Vrabel. Guarantee you, if Mike Vrabel has had that, you know, the same resume that he's had in Dallas, they be ready to can his ass here in Dallas. But in Tennessee, nobody care. So Mike ain't going to have 10 years if he don't get one done. This ain't going to be Jason Garrett. He don't have them type of ties to the organization. So unfortunately for Mike, Mike's going to have to get it done very, very soon. Very, very soon.
No, yeah, and I've loved what Mike's done, to be honest with you. It's just hard because I also love Dan Quinn. And it's like, who do I low-key value more, you know, Dan Quinn or Mike McCarthy? And the improvements that I've never seen the defense like this in my lifetime with Dallas. So it's like, do I ever want to let that go? You know, do I ever want to let that go?
I'll be okay with letting it go. If you win the Super Bowl, I'm all right with it.
Yeah, I want to keep going. Fuck that. I want to win a Super Bowl, don't get me wrong, but I want to keep going.
The reason why I say that is Dan ain't turning the bag down. They will throw the highest paid coach money at Dan Quinn if the Cowboys win the Super Bowl, and the defense is like that.
I know. Well, shit, man, I'll let you go, but as always, bro, you're amazing to talk to, and much love from this Cowboy side of everything, bro. Like, just keep going, bro. We love you, bro.
Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate you, big dog. Much love. Man, good conversations today. We're really good. I didn't expect to go this route, but, you know, and the reason why I'm able to rattle these things off like this, because these are conversations I was having, you know, long time ago, predating Dak, roughly around Tony, when it came to other quarterbacks that a lot of fans would get on. And I'm like, hey, man, it'd be nice if you had an Andy. It'd be nice if you had a Bill. It'd be nice if you had a Tony Dungy. It'd be nice, you know, look, it'd be nice if you had a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes, but that's not always going to be the case. There's going to be in between. You're going to have situations where you don't have an all-time great quarterback or coach, right? But if I can get stability from at least a coaching standpoint, eventually Andy's going to find it at Pat Mahomes. Tom Brady or Bill Belichick's going to get a Tom Brady. Or the other way around, where you got the stability at coaching and the foundation at coaching and the organizational function where an Eli Manning can win the Super Bowl, a Joe Flacco can win the Super Bowl, a Cam Newton can get there, a Trent Dilfer, all these other quarterbacks that have been, Jake Delhomme can get there, a Rex Grossman can get there, right? So a lot of moving pieces do have to come to one to get the ultimate prize. But because it's been 30 years for Dallas, we are impatient, and that's fair. Because what patience? It's 30 years. We need to win a Super Bowl. Just understand that if you don't make some type of change in what you're doing from the top down, I don't think much is going to change. Fortunately, I think we're seeing some change. I don't know what that's going to do. When you go out and you do the things you do and bringing in hump players, when you say, hey, look, I know Kellen is one of ours, but we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to actually let our head coach, offensive coordinator do his own thing. Those are the slight changes that, these other organizations routinely do. See if it pays off. Last one, and we getting up out of here. 808. My Oos, what's good?
How you doing, brother Steele?
Man, I'm doing good. Having really good conversations with y'all. We got some film in. We got training camp. Just a good week right now.
I know, man. Yeah, I'm going to tell you, man, you had a crazy show so far, man. I come back and I'm listening to all these calls, and I'm just like taking one subject off to another. I was like, starting off with Cowboy Jack, man. It was a great start to the show, and the calls after, man, got a little freaky for the airways.
Yeah, Cowboy Jack set the tone, man. He set the tone. But, hey, look, to be fair to y'all, every single last caller since Cowboy Jack has come with the fire. So,
yeah, I got you. But I did love I did really appreciate you doing the film breakdown, man. It's always good to see that especially when you have all these big media outlets that just say stuff and they don't really got any proof. And then when they do show proof, it's little snippets, not the whole story. So with Kellen Moore, I like I said, I don't like to be the guy who's too much of a critic and stuff. But I do like what you said about him. I agree 100% with I think in this day and age, we get so amazed by the players that we often forget when it comes down to it, the battle between the coordinators, between defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator, is often described as like a chess match. You know what I mean?
Cat and mouse, right? Back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're not just the move you're making. It isn't just about the next move and the move you're making now. You got to be thinking 5 moves ahead, and if you're a grandmaster, you're thinking 13 moves ahead. You mean? And sometimes I felt like Kellen Moore at times, like sometimes you got like a little shook up, and the next thing you know, it's just like you're just playing Madden, and you're just throwing out plays that he likes.
And again, that's part of the learning on the job situation that you just don't see those organizations always do. There's always some type of resume these guys have prior. But Jason Garrett, Kellen Moore, these guys had no resume to build off of as play callers or head coaches. So they're learning on the job. And that's the thing. I truly do believe Kellen Moore is going to be a fine coordinator in this league. Hell, he's probably going to be fine over there with the Chargers. But, there's just things you have to go through the fire with that he didn't. And those things showed up, often. But look, he's gone. We've said our piece about him. I'm actually more excited about what McCarthy and Schottenheimer have been saying and implementing moving forward.
Yeah, so that's actually why, I really like what I've been seeing out of the training camp and stuff. Because if you see, the comments of the players and the comments of some of these guys, it doesn't their comments doesn't seem forced. It actually seems like they're fully buying in because they understood that, they're going in and it's just we're not just doing things to do it. There's a rhyme and a reason for all that we do.
Yes.
And so far, when and that's why when stuff brought up about Sean and RJ, so I totally agree. I was we talking about sweat. I'm just I got to change it down on that.
Yeah, man, that was rough. I stuck it through because I know Bobby's a football guy. Bobby, he kind of brings those dudes back down to earth. But I learned some things because I started listening to the show because they put Bobby on it, and he really brings nuggets to the show. He's the insider, right? But I've learned some things over time with them, and I understand, okay, shock jock stuff, kind of what gets the people going type situation. look, salute to them. They work hard. They get up early. They do their show. That's how they get their bread, take care of their family. But when it comes to actual, if you're trying to get anything from them from a football standpoint, that's not what you're going to get. What you're going to get is shock jock stuff to garner attention and engagement and things like that. And, hey, that works for radio, I guess. But for somebody like me, if Bobby not speaking, because he's talking football, I can't really listen to it too much longer.
Yeah, no, it turns into one of the big networks. Yeah, but definitely, man, I wanted to see what you think. Would you agree with if they took 7 wide receivers into the season? Let's say like Jalen Tolbert and what's his name is Pehoko just both ball out. It becomes a point to where you just got to make a decision, and at the end they just decide, you know what, we take Turpin, we take Pehoko, we take Tolbert. We're just gonna take them all into the season.
I think
you'd
have to. You'd have to tell me where we're coming short at, because you just say 7 wide receivers. I'm saying no, unless you got to. Where am I short at? Am I short at tight end? Am I short at offensive line, defensive line? Am I short at corner? Where am I short at? Who am I shorting at those positions? Because that's what it's going to come down to. It won't be Turpin versus Simi or Simi versus Moreno Cropper. It'll be one of them dudes versus Marquise Bell. One of them dudes versus Eric Scott. One of them, you know what I'm saying? Like, where is it coming from? Where are the number games being played? 7 wide receivers is a lot. They haven't carried 7 consistently ever. Maybe from time to time they'll carry 7, but mostly it's been about 6.
Yeah. No, I got you. This offseason, man, it's going to be iron sharpens iron, man. Same thing with the pressure. I tell him put the pressure on everybody. That's why I like Trevon Diggs and with the talks what he be having with Dak and stuff. I said the same pressure that busts pipes makes diamonds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I said everybody's going to go through it. Throw them all in the fire and stuff and see who walks out.
Indeed, brother. Hey, appreciate the call, Oos. I'm going to keep it moving.
Hey, real
here.
quick, but before I go, sorry, the last call we had and stuff, I won't take up too much of your time. I was going off with the Ric Flair. I guess I got so much of a rush that I didn't even hear your question. You had asked me about which promo did I think was better? Was Hard Times better or Ric Flair's one? I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not even a competition. It's Ric Flair all the way, man.
Fair.
And I'm sorry. Hard Times is Cry Me a River while I play the world's smallest violin and stuff like that. Ric Flair's Ric Flair. They don't have any songs named after Hard Times, man.
Fair enough. Yeah, Ric Flair. Everybody knows that promo compared to Hard Times. Yeah, Hard Times is it hits different than Rick. So I appreciate that. All right, man.
Okay, you have a good day, brother. God bless.
Salute. Woo, good stuff, Cowboys Nation. Y'all's on fire today. I peeked over here at the chat. Somebody had brought up, I think it might have been Jay. They said, if Herbert was complaining about the hitch routes last year, wait till they get a hold of Kellen. I mean, I said this before. I said it yesterday, and I brought it up yesterday. I joke and he and Kiki about those hitch routes, but boy, they was real. Most targeted hitch routes in the league last year. Dak basically cleared the field. Almost 20% of his routes, 18% exactly, were hitch routes targeted. Allen 16, Geno 15, Mahomes 15, Herbert 14, Hurts 13, Burrow 12, and then Cousins 11%. And when we were talking about the slant fade situation, how many of those slants were targeted? Only 9%. 9%. When you go look at a player, really probably any quarterback, but Brock Purdy, for instance. Brock Purdy plays in a system that relies on a lot of movement in regards to catching the ball after the throw, or running after the catch. I'm sorry. 21% of his targets were on crossers and slants. 21%. And the reason why I bring up Shanahan is because I think he is the modern day version of what West Coast offense can look like when you don't have a crazy quarterback. And if you do have at least a legit quarterback, when you look at Donovan McNabb and you look at Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid is the face of what a West Coast offense can look like, or principles or foundations can look like. Both of those guys come from that tree. McCarthy comes from that tree. And I'm hoping he can have the same impact in regards to quality moving forward. So Interesting statistic I looked at there. And Dak only threw slants on, I believe, 9% of his throws. So I think we'll see more of that in this offense. We'll see more crossers. We'll see more getting movement after the catch from these wide receivers designed in the play. Wasn't always the case last year. It was more stationary targets, which that can be fine in stints. But when you got guys like Cooks, you got guys like Lamb, at one point Amari Cooper, you know, you can get these boys the ball on the move and let's work. Let's work. All right, let's get to these super chats. I did like 4 of them earlier, something like that. So we'll get the rest of them and keep it moving. So I was already looking at a super chat earlier. I kind of made a face about it because, and again, a lot of interesting nuggets that you get.
Super chat.
Not Black Lion. Where'd you go? There you go. We don't wipe them 304s. Chris, he said 15 of 17 of Dak's picks last year, including the playoffs, were in shotgun. He says, is it something or nothing? I would say more of a little bit. I'll lean towards nothing. You know, I mean, we want him to be under the center a little bit more, but quarterbacks are going to be in shotgun most of the time in this game. So I don't want to say it's completely nothing, right? There's something getting under center, play action, movement, some run action type stuff, boots, easy things. And obviously crossers coming across field, floods, easy reads. There's something to that, but you're going to be in shotgun a lot in today's game. You're going to be in shotgun. So, Brother L, thank you, sir.
Super chat.
Dropped a couple and said for veggie rolls to go with the sushi. Hashtag platter talk. So earlier I was talking about the prices that they're charging now. $250 a day for the VIP when last year it was $300 for the entire year. The year is $250 a day now. Common Sense Lab said we need to send Queen in to lower those prices. God damn, dog. Y'all mess. Y'all don't miss. Y'all do not miss. What I really want to say to Jay.
His hair, whack. His gear, whack. His jewelry, whack. His footsteps, whack. The way that he talks, whack. The way that he doesn't even like to smile, whack. Me, I'm tight as
What I want to say to him about them damn prices, man. It's whack. It's whack. Let me get me though. T Gordon, I got you. Miss Ellis, I got you. Hard hitter, he dropped one.
Super chat.
He said, book it. Jalen Cropper is making this roster. If Jalen Cropper makes this roster bars, that'd be amazing. That'd be great. That'll be good for your team because that means a guy like Moreno Cropper knocked out somebody with pedigree. And I hope it's because he's doing it that way, not because somebody got hurt, or somebody's just trash. Make the team because he's nice like that. He was the one when we did our undrafted free agent features. He was the one I got most excited about because when I was watching him, I was like, he's got a specific set of skills, route running, and hands that I think could make them say, "Hey, we got to make a decision." I like this kid. We don't want to put him on waivers. Let's find a way. Let's find a way. And to me, it's going to be Simi. If Simi doesn't make his case, that's the roster spot I think he'll take. Jalen Tolbert's not going nowhere. 3rd round pick. I personally don't think Low Man going anywhere. Kevontae Turpin. And then you got the big 3. So if they carry 6, Simi better wake up, man, because Moreno Cropper has those skill sets. He was the guy we talk about. Hey, this is the one. Not Durden, not the others. And salute to them. Hopefully they step up too. But Moreno Cropper. Towboat Ty.
Super chat.
He says, Sky, I haven't heard much about our kicking situation. Is there kicking competition? If so, who's it between? We need a trusted closer in tight games. Right now, it's Vizcaino and Brandon Audrey. I'll make sure I got that right, not Aubrey. Audrey. Another little nugget from Bobby when listening to him with Brian Broaddus. Apparently Audrey has a powerful leg, and we know that's something that Bones Fossil likes. He had Greg DeLeg, Zerline, powerful leg. He had Maha, powerful leg. And now we get Audrey in here with a powerful leg. And he was accurate in the USFL. So that's your competition. I don't know how they're looking. but that's your competition right now. And if I had to guess, as long as Audrey is not terrible from an accuracy standpoint, I think he'll end up beating Vizcaino out, because apparently the further back you get, the less you hear from Vizcaino, very similar to Brett Maher. Lord Nova.
Super chat.
He said back-to-back 12 in 5 seasons with a road playoff win. Now, we haven't done it in 30 years. With a road playoff win, how or why is he on the hot seat? Retired Brady, I see nothing but progression. Fire show, Sky. Appreciate you, Lord Nova. Look, man, any other organization, this man is not, his seat ain't even warm. It ain't warm. But this organization, man, he's not, this isn't Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett was beloved by this. He was family. I used to call him a stepchild. Think Wade, and he's much better head coach than me than Wade Phillips. But think Wade. Wade got in here 2007, was out of here 2010 because it started tanking. There wasn't no, you know what? Tony Romo got hurt. It's cool. Wade would keep you around for an extra 5 years. I don't think there's those type of ties with Mike McCarthy. Not saying that there should be, right? Because you want to put the pressure on your quarterback. On your head coach to get it done from an organizational standpoint. But yeah, I think Mike McCarthy should have earned more respect last year. But across national media, there was a poll or something out there, and they said Mike McCarthy is the number 1 hot seat in the league. It's crazy. Toxic drop one.
Super chat.
He said your coach needs to be a shit filter, not a shit funnel. I like that one. Especially if you have an overbearing front office. Yes, Mike will protect his players and his staff. I say it all the time. This is the type of organization where, unfortunately for the coaches and players, they have to overcome what's above them constantly. And there's no remorse. There's no sympathy. There's none of that. Not saying there should be sympathy, but there's no context. Fans throw out context. They do not care if your organization puts you in a handicap because of the decisions they decided to make, whether it be from coaching or personnel acquisitions. It is their job to get over that. And Toxic loves to say, well, you can never get over it. They're 30 years, but damn it, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. You're going to have to. As long as those two guys are running it the way they have been running it previously, things have changed this year. You have to do it. But there has been a shift. Hopefully that shift gains momentum moving forward, and the Cowboys can always remain in this championship window. TC, yes, TC915, drop one.
Super chat.
For the sushi fun, Scott. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to get some sushi now.
Super chat.
John, not Michael Phelps, says Kellen Moore is weak making in-game adjustments. Well, I mean, that is a criticism of Kellen. It's funny though, because Peyton Manning, he kind of says something about whole halftime adjustments. He's like, halftime adjustments is hilarious because you literally have 13 minutes. Half of it is spent walking to the locker room and walking out and using the bathroom and readjusting some equipment or getting taped up or whatever. So there's not enough time to truly make halftime adjustments. But in-game adjustments, yeah, those are things where I wish he sat at the top where you could say, oh, I see, like I said, Flott biting on this slant flat combo. Let's go ahead and run this fake slant wheel route situation and we can get a touchdown off of it. So. And that's it for the super chats. I think a couple more might have rolled in. Let me scroll up here and make sure it was only one. I ain't missing it. Yeah, just one more. Dallas Cowboys hard hitter dropped another one.
Super chat.
Especially if he shows up today in camp day number 2, Cropper. So the camp, you want to, again, I say this all the time. People crap on stuff like camp, like, oh, well, it's just practice. Sure. I mean, it's just practice, but you be shitting on them if it wasn't, right? Like, Simi Fehoko, perfect. If Simi Fehoko just makes his catches, no one cares. But if he messes up, you're going to talk about it, right? So you want to see Jalen Moreno-Cropper absolutely continue to keep this momentum moving forward. But if he can carry that over into the games, into preseason, that is where you then have to start talking about, hey, man, what's Simi doing? Is Simi carrying that over? Is Simi playing better? Or whomever else it is he's competing with. So I'm really interested to see if he can carry that momentum over to August 12th. But you love to hear him progressing, for sure. And Special K says, shout out to Special K. Ain't seen you in the grip, bro. I got to see the pads. Will said, what about game management for McCarthy? Funny, year one, everybody was on McCarthy in 2021 about game management. Anybody say anything about McCarthy in game management in 2022? I could probably count on one hand how many times I've seen anybody bring up game management and Mike McCarthy. The first year, he got crushed, and sometimes it was rightfully so. So I would argue Mike McCarthy, when it comes to game management, improved in that aspect. He can't call the plays. Can't call the plays. He can't throw the ball. He can't protect the ball. He can't make the tackle in the sense of that. But he can manage the game, timeouts, and getting guys where they need to be. But I thought he improved there. And one more TC on the drums on the way out.
Super chat.
Feeling good about this season. The Kool-Aid is measured but extra sweet after this year's draft. I have no problem with y'all drinking some Kool-Aid. You should. Your front office moved different this year. I think they did everything you see some of these high-end championship caliber franchises that have won over the last half decade or so do. You've seen them do it. So say it with your chest, man, when you say I'm a Cowboy fan. And if you say those dreaded words, it's our year, they can laugh at you all you want, man, but you got one. You got one, Cowboys Nation. All right, do me a favor on your way out. Hit the like button. All 500 and something of y'all that stuck through this crazy show. I appreciate y'all, man. Truly do. We'll be back later. I'll be back later on Vacha's show, the Vach Lombardi Live show on the volume, about 3:06-ish. We'll likely be recapping day 2 of training camp. And then tomorrow, I'm thinking about making it. I mean, it's Fan Friday all the time, but a couple practices in, I might open up the mailbag, man, and just get more of a sense of how y'all feel or what are y'all thinking question-wise after the first week of camp. And then Monday, we're going to try to get one of our guys in that's down there, boots on the ground, get him in the show, man. Appreciate you guys. Truly do. Fantastic stuff from everybody that contributes in the comments. Whether, again, I'll say this all the time because I don't want people to think that confrontation is good. It creates conversation. So disagreements are fine because I want to hear your side. I want you to hear my side. So all those who participate phone-wise, excellent phone calls today. Y'all were amazing. In the chat, y'all were amazing. So thank y'all for being here. Let me get up out of here. I'm hungry. Football's back, man. It's back. Tell your friends to run this one back, though. This was one of them ones, you know? It might not be the fancy ESPN headline stuff, but it was one of them ones, man. We out of here. Peace. Perfect timing as my son, I can hear him wrestling the wrestling dummy next door. If he was doing that during the show, it'd been a whole lot of, hey! Hits and beats! Shouts out to Queen. Shouts out to Queen, man.
Squad!